Am I struggling in a relationship? I don't know how to navigate it. Well, maybe something like this could be helpful. How's it going, folks? Father Columba here. How are you? Coming at you from Limerick in Ireland. Personality tests. I personally like them. Is it okay though? Is it okay for a Catholic to do a personality test, even just out of curiosity? Are they helpful? I know some people they hate, if you start saying, oh, you're such a, and you name some personality trait that can really put people off. There's other ways in which they're really helpful. What are those? And yeah, is this something that could be helpful for us or not? So there's lots of them out there. I'm sure you've come across some. The ones I'm familiar with, like the temperaments, that's quite popular in Catholic circles. There's a book called The Temperament God Gave You that's sort of made it quite mainstream. There's the Big Five. I don't know too much about that one. There's the Myers-Briggs. Definitely come across that one myself. Yeah, there's loads of other ones too, and there's probably loads that psychologists could put you onto and say they're much more accurate or whatever. But just in general, we're going to look at some of the principles and see what is up with these. Okay, so the idea of a personality test is that we all kind of have something of a personality, certain traits and tendencies. And it's kind of making somewhat of a generalization to say, oh yeah, you're sort of like this sort of a person. So it's kind of dividing people into basic categories of ways they react to things. Their emotional responses, are those responses fast or slow? Are they, more passive, more aggressive, more extroverted, more introverted? And every different personality test uses different kind of spectrums. They'll say you're this way or you're that way. So they all sort of come at it from a slightly different angle. And some of them I find more useful than others, and some I don't find helpful at all. Okay, but what are some of the negatives? Well, one of the biggest ones I've come across is folks, you can feel like there's a big generalization involved here. It's like, I'm not just a number to fit into your system. I'm not just choleric or a ENFP or a IJFT or a 2 or a 5, whatever. I'm me. I'm completely unique and unrepeatable. So it can be a little bit almost like offensive or limiting of people and of their uniqueness. Now, I found certain people, certain personality types are way more offended at this than others. Whatever, which is somewhat hilarious. I've had situations where, because I'm quite familiar with the temperament system, and I'll be talking about it. I go, oh yeah, which one do you think you are? And they'd be really negative, like, oh, I hate that stuff. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, you totally sound like a choleric right now. But that's the thing, the generalization, the fitting someone into a box. And we actually there can be a problem there. Of I can really, in my head, limit you. Oh, good luck. He's just a whatever. She's just a whatever. And I fail to pause and recognize the unique beauty and lovableness of this soul, and that God loves them uniquely and individually. Almost none of these systems have pure Christian roots. They're all from, psychology, or some of them are super, super ancient. The temperament system goes back to the ancient Greeks. The Enneagram, I think, has Muslim roots. And I'm sure there's lots of others, some probably just made up by some lads in their living room. That's a thing. They're all from all sorts of different perspectives and roots. You could get into fatalistic thinking. So I could go, oh, well, I'm this way. I'm this type of person. And then I could get so this is the way I act. And I can get as if I don't have any free will. I could lose hope. I could give up hope of changing. I could give up hope that you could change. Well, they are such and such, and they're never going to change because that's the way they are. And also just this limiting God and limiting God's grace. People can change, especially with the grace of God, in the most extraordinary ways. So we don't want to use these things or let them calcify our thinking and limit our capacity to see people and hope for people and believe in the grace of God active in their lives and changing and growing hearts. It also can be very self-focused. Be like, oh, I want to grow in understanding of myself, and it ends up with a lot of navel gazing and gazing at your navel, my navel. I mean that figuratively speaking. And we can start to psychologize people instead of loving them. Okay, so that's some of the dangers, right? And these are real and these are temptations. But guys, part of this is the way our brains work. Like our brains need to do some generalization in order to function. There's no way we could process all the information coming at us without some ways of categorizing a little bit. But we're not categorizing machines. We also have a free will and a heart and an intellect. And we also need to put love first. So any of that kind of generalization, categorization must be put at the service of love. To use this stuff, why? Service of love. Never to use, ever, ever, ever. I find this stuff helpful though for personal growth. And when I get to know myself better, like, oh my gosh, because I can see my good sides, but I can see my negative sides and the areas that I'm really weak in. I'm like, oh wow, that explains a lot. When I get these insights into myself. And then I can work on that. I can ask God to come into that. I can ask God to bless my strengths and like, wow, I'm really good at connecting with people. I'm really good at communicating with people because of various, the way I was born, the way my parents raised me, my life experience, the things I move towards and enjoy. So it's kind of honed traits and skills. And this is all kind of part of this thing that is me, as my personality, my temperament. Along with that, just self-understanding, growing in my love and appreciation of myself in all of my uniqueness. And of course, it can help me to grow in my love and appreciation of you and how to love you better, how to understand why you act certain ways. These kind of personality tests can be really helpful to navigate, like in a work situation, like negotiations, or this person is really underperforming. I need to have a tough conversation with them. But if I understand something about them, how they feel loved, how they react under pressure, if you do it this way, this person will be able to hear you much more clearly. They'll get far less defensive and they'll be able to work with you. This has been like game changer for me when I was in leadership in a friary, to be able to get insight on a brother who just hard to know. Because guys, it's like meeting an alien sometimes. When you really get to know somebody and they're so different and you don't understand them at all. They don't speak your language. No one in my family maybe had this kind of personality. So it's just bizarre to me. Or if something's like not the norm in your culture. So for example, in Ireland, in the temperament system, cholerics, like alphas, like really strong personalities, just go-getters, get it done, kind of can steamroll stuff, but they get so much done. And like, that's not super normal, popular, encouraged in Ireland. When I went to America, oh my gosh, like everyone in my community, all the founders, like these big, choleric, strong personalities, alpha types, they could build cities. Like, it was unbelievable, but also it was like intimidating. I was, terrified of displeasing them. And how do I enter into connection and relationship with these people? Well, this kind of personality test stuff did really help me to know, they get stuff done, but they actually still have a heart and they want to communicate and they can hear if you confront them and talk to them. And really helpful. So that's another thing. A little roadmap for work and for relationship. I find them very helpful as a little like thumbnail way to understand quickly, like, oh, okay, this person might be this sort of tendency, like, so I can kind of quickly get to really embrace and see the giftedness in somebody. I can help me accept somebody because I'll be more familiar if some unusual behavior pops out. I'm like, oh, that's like this. Oh, that makes sense. So my capacity to see, know, love, and accept people actually has increased because of some of this stuff. In general, with personality tests, a little bit like love languages or different things, getting to know people, getting to know their hearts is intimately connected with love. And for me, the way to navigate these different kind of systems, and should I do them, should I not do them, it's really to ask yourself, might this be helpful for me to grow in my love for people? Am I struggling in a relationship? I don't know how to navigate it. Well, maybe something like this could be helpful. I think these things can be a tremendous tool to navigate life, navigate relationships, and potentially to be a more accepting and loving individual, but not without a lot of work. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. God bless you.